Hey there, it's Shauna. I hope you're doing great. Welcome to your weekly astrology forecast for February 12th. So this week I'm calling your shining moment because this week we have a new moon solar eclipse, and it's a week where it may feel a little bit quiet and more reflective, but it's really a moment for you to connect with yourself so that you can shine in the way that's most authentic for you. So I'm excited to share the astrology of this week with you, and then I have 3 tips for you to have an amazing week. So the first thing that's happening this week is we have that solar eclipse. We have a new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Aquarius. And this is happening on Thursday, February 15th. It's exact at 1:05 p.m. Pacific time. And it's mostly visible like the southern part of South America, so it's not, it's not a total solar eclipse. It's not going to feel as dramatic as, say, the solar eclipse that we had in August 2017. But it's still an important moment, and it's especially important around the themes of Aquarius. And so the solar eclipse is happening at 27 degrees of Aquarius. So what does Aquarius mean? Aquarius is all about connecting with something that is greater than ourselves, connecting with whether that be community or an idea or a project. It's connecting with something that is going to be useful to other people. Aquarius is about the process of doing that and the process of connecting with people that you feel like are on the same page as you, going to the same long-term goals, the same vision they have, a similar worldview. And so at a practical level, this very much looks like finding people that you feel are your true friends or your tribe, your community. Aquarius is very much about community and how we feel like we can be a part of community, but then also be ourselves. And so all of these themes may come up this week. You know, how do you, who are your peeps? Who's your community? Who's your tribe? Do you feel like you belong, or do you feel a sense of rejection in certain circles versus others? And when you are a part of a group, how do you maintain your unique you-ness? How do you express yourself in a group setting in a way that honors yourself and then also the group as well? So the fact that this is a solar eclipse symbolizes that there's maybe like a little a change or a shift. This solar eclipse is happening with the sun and the moon conjunct the south node, and the south node is about past patterns, things that we've gone over and over again, whether you look at that in a past life context or just that there's something about you that you just innately know how to do very well. And so with the solar eclipse happening here, this symbolizes a sense where we may be working through things that we've experienced in the past, quite literally, or maybe just old feelings and emotions that we've had in the past. And it may be an opportunity for you to also draw on talents that you have and to use them in a new way. So maybe what is it that you have, whether that be a tool or a skill or just something about you that can be really useful that you haven't used recently, or that maybe you want to use in a different way. So something to think about for this particular solar eclipse. And again, this is happening on Thursday the 15th, but we're in the whole realm of eclipse season. So since we had the lunar eclipse in Leo on January 31st, you know, there's all of these things that may be coming in. We may be thinking about things typically when we're in eclipse season. So for this year, that means January, February, and then also July and August again. During these months, there's a certain element of like new things coming in and some things changing or falling away. So it's like this process of emerging and dissolving. And so I really want you to pay attention to that this week. What is it that is gaining speed and taking up momentum, what new things are happening, and then what other things are starting to fall away. And this can be very overt, it can be very dramatic, or it can be more subtle. The other thing that's happening this week is we have several aspects that Mercury is making. Mercury will square Jupiter, sextile Uranus, and then conjunct the sun. And so Mercury is the planet that symbolizes our thought process, linear thinking, and the mind and communication. It's how we process things in a more intellectual fashion, and then how we communicate that with each other. So I would imagine that we're really working through things at an analytical level this week. I would say this week definitely listen and reflect at the same time. There needs to be a little bit of both here. Really listen to what people are telling you, not just with their words, but with their actions, and then what is it that you want to do with that. Journaling, writing, like even talking, to yourself on a voice recorder, like all of these things can be really helpful this week because we have such an active Mercury, which is an active mind essentially. So any way to work out those kinds of things can be very, very helpful. And you may have some cool insights. You may have some musings that would be good to write down or to reflect upon, or just to not lose those, because those feel important this week because we're in the eclipse season. And then lastly, we have Mars square Neptune. And so this is an interesting aspect because Mars is about action. It's about our capacity to carry out something, to meet confrontation, to meet challenge, to engage. And then Neptune is about dissolving things. Neptune helps us to be creative, to do things like meditation and yoga, and where we're tuning into the subtle energy of ourselves or the subtle energy of other people. But Neptune can also represent where we get lost in fantasy or illusion, or we don't really see things clearly. And so these two energies are very different. Typically when Mars and Neptune come together in any way, our energy is a little bit lower. It's a good time to get some chill time, get some Zen time, and to not push yourself too hard. And so I would say that, combined with the fact that we have a new moon solar eclipse, this week is definitely a time more geared towards rest and contemplation than carrying out actions. I mean, you got to do what you got to do, of course, but especially later in the week, because the Mars Neptune is happening closer to the weekend. So that's, something just to think about. There may even be like a restless feeling where like you want to do things, but you don't have the physical energy, or maybe not even the time. And so be gentle with yourself with that. It's if you are feeling that way, that's very normal. So that being said, I have 3 tips for you. Tip number 1 is to get some downtime this week. Because of the Mars Neptune that I was just talking about, and because it's a new moon week, and especially earlier in the week leading up to the new moon solar eclipse on Thursday, we're in the dark waning phase of the moon. And so that's a great time to get some downtime, to just give your physical body and your emotional body some rest, to chill the fuck out a little bit. So that's tip number 1, to get some downtime this week, especially earlier in the week if you can. And then tip number 2 is to journal on Thursday. And so I'm saying this, journal on Thursday, on that day of the new moon solar eclipse, because there's something very profound about journaling, reflection, contemplation when there's a new moon anytime, but especially when it's a solar eclipse. And you're really supported in processing something that has been bothering you, because we have all of those Mercury aspects this week too. So that's why I would say specifically to do some journaling on Thursday. If you have a meditation practice or something else that you do that is a ritual for the lunar cycles, that's great. But I really like the idea of journaling, doing something, writing this Thursday. So that's tip number 2, to journal on Thursday. Give yourself like 5 minutes, doesn't have to be elaborate. And then I have a quote that I want to share with you before I give you tip number 3. So this is from Lady Gaga, and she's the person that we're featuring on the Feminine Principle podcast for this week. And I really like her as a symbol for this week, as an archetypal symbol for this week, because she has this like total textbook Aquarius kind of vibe. She's very eclectic and provocative, and she tends to, like, whenever she does something, it's always like noticeable and different, but like there's this certain like there's this certain magnetism, but also repulsion at the same way. And I find that Aquarius can kind of have that effect on people. And I also really like her because she is an amazing artist, amazing performer, and she's very much focused on helping women and people in general just feel really good about themselves, feel connected with who it is that they are, and to be okay with that, and to not fall into trying to go along with the crowd or trying to go along with what you should do and that kind of thing. So I think that she's a great model for Aquarian energy that we have this week. So she says, "Don't you ever let a soul in the world tell you that you can't be exactly who you are." And so I like this very much because it is classic Aquarian, but it's also like this Leo Aquarius polarity that we've had with the eclipses. We had our full moon lunar eclipse on January 31st in the sign of Leo. And so I really think that we may be working out these things of like, who are we? How do we express that? How are we appreciated for when we do express ourselves? And where do we fit in? Who are our people? So those things may be coming up. So that's that. And then I have tip number 3 is to do some meditative movement this week. And you'll find if you watch my videos a lot that I often will pair things like meditation and movement, like reflection, and then the body work as well. And so I think the body work is really important this week because we have Mars, Neptune. And I say meditative movement because I want you to think about like what kind of movement can you do that you can connect with your body, but that it's slow and not strenuous, that it's more chill. So think like yin yoga, walking, swimming. I don't know if you're near like a pool or where it's warm enough to go swimming. Even like dancing, but something that is very chill, but that will get your body moving. That's really helpful this week, especially because we have those Mercury aspects, so your mind may be buzzing a lot more than normal, and doing some kind of meditative movement is going to help you get into your body and will actually help to soothe some of that mental chatter that can get kind of get elaborated on when we have a lot of Mercury aspects. So that's your horoscope for the week. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you did, please share it with a friend because I like to get these messages out to as many people as possible. And if you want to know more about the astrology of this week or just astrology in general, much more than I can share on this video, you can listen to the Feminine Principle podcast, Astrology for Authentic Living. So that's the podcast that I co-host with my friend Mel of Energetic Principles. And it's really fun. We go into all of these aspects in much more detail. Mel pulls some tarot cards, and I have more quotes to share with you, of course, because I love quotes. And it's available on iTunes, Podbean, or even YouTube. And so I'll have links below so that you can listen to that. We put out an episode every single weekend. And if you want to meditate for this particular new moon, I'm hosting a new moon meditation circle on Sunday, the 18th at 7 p.m. And so that'll be in Encinitas at Gather Encinitas, and I'll have a link down below for that too. So that'll be really cool. We'll all come together and meditate on the new moon. I love doing those circles with you all. And then last thing, I have my meditation membership that is now available. It's something new that I'm sharing with you. It is a membership where you get a guided meditation from me every single week. And so it's usually about 10 or 15 minutes. And if you've been watching me, you know that I like to do a meditation for the new moon and the full moon that I post on YouTube. But I've been having a lot of people that want something more like consistent. And so this is once a week, and it's geared towards a meditation for the astrology of every single week. So I'll have a link down below for that. You can find that on Patreon. So that's all. Oh my gosh, so many things. I'm wishing you an amazing week and sending you lots of love. I'll talk to you soon. Namaste.